Okay, folks, we are live here for our second leg of Quantum Leap with David and Cory, and special guest today, President Dudley Thompson of the Oakland Rotary #3, who has a lot of great insights and things to tell about Rotary. And, I've really I'll start with just a brief testimonial on my experience knowing and working with Dudley. I joined Rotary in March of 2020, and it was just really been a life-changing experience for me in a lot of ways, meeting so many of Dudley's colleagues who he's known for years and years, and just so many great people in the community in the East Bay area. And it's been great for business, but more, social, and just really being a part of the community there in the East Bay. And I'm grateful to him for being kind of really a mentor of mine in what Rotary is about and all the great things that go on there. So I'll leave it there, and wanted to welcome my co-host Cory and I, who actually sponsored me into Rotary and really is a big believer in Rotary, but he has some location issues, so he's no longer in our club. But I'll let you just do a quick check-in, Cory, about your thoughts on Rotary and also your connection with Dudley as well. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry. Yeah, I've been hearing about Oakland #3 for a long time. My father's in Rotary, and several other friends were as well. And it's just adding on a service organization as a place to do that kind of work was a natural fit. And living in Oakland, it just made sense. Everything was great. Was attending a few meetings here and there, and then finally I could make this a regular time thing. And that's when COVID hit and changed everything for as far as my ability to participate goes. But I was able to bring in a few people along the way. David, I introduced into the Rotary #3. So I feel like I gave something to the organization before I kind of had to make my exit. And once I kind of figure out where I'm going to land, which hopefully is up here in Marin County, we'll either join something locally or go to one of the e-Rotaries, because there is a possibility for those who travel or are away a lot to do online Rotary organizations, and then you can visit the local ones and participate as well. So it's just an overall a great organization. It's what I love about it is it's really full of business people, right? I mean, it started that way, so I like being around entrepreneurs, and Rotary is filled with former entrepreneurs. Not all of them, of course, but a lot of them have, can speak that same language and have that kind of creativity around helping the community, with utilizing resources the way we would in a business.
Yeah, and with that, I'm going to get to Dudley. I just had one little anecdote that I think there's business knowledge, and then there's knowledge of how to put that, how to work with Rotary. And I really see that you need both. And Dudley has so much great insight on how to make Rotary work for the community, which is combining his business knowledge and his experience in Rotary. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to you, Dudley, to just tell us who you are and your story about how you got involved in Rotary and what you do now.
Well, thank you, David and Cory, for inviting me today. Pleasure to be here. I guess share some thoughts with you. I have kind of a patchwork career in my life, I guess, as many of us do. I was born and raised in a small town in Iowa. It was an agricultural related town. My father had I guess you'd call him an entrepreneur. He started out with essentially nothing during the Depression, and had heard about hybrid seed corn. When he went to college for a couple of years, couldn't afford to finish, went back to the farm and took a little acre in the back corner of the farm and started breeding different kinds of corn, hybrid seed corn, and developed that into a business it was never the largest business in the industry, but he developed into a fairly notable company in the Midwest. And so I grew up around an agricultural family. But then I left for the city, as many of us do from small towns. I went to school in the largest city in Iowa, Des Moines. And then from Des Moines, I moved to New York City for a couple of years. And then I went back to my hometown in Iowa for about 5 years, started a small business there, failed miserably at it. I'd studied business. I thought, my dad was successful. I studied it. This is going to be easy, but it wasn't. And so I learned a lot of lessons the first time around. Anyway, we moved out to California. My wife was quite ill, my first wife, and we came out here for the weather and for some other supportive issues. And we came here and we've stayed. And my first wife died a few years ago. I remarried to a wonderful woman who's had been a professor at both UC Santa Barbara and UC Davis, Concha. And we live at home with 4 cats. And I'm a Rotarian. So I've had a small business for about 27 years now. It's a small sign shop, but we developed this very niche market doing commercial fleet graphics, commercial vehicle graphics. And even though we're in the advertising business, frankly, I don't advertise. I've developed these relationships with customers, and they just keep feeding us business. It's been a remarkable run for 27 years now. So it's I guess partly of what about Rotary too is its relationship, and if you're developing relationships and what the value of that, whether it be from your business or we have a lot of nonprofits who are members of the club too. Let's think of it as organizational leaders that often belong to Rotary. So anyway, I joined Rotary 27 years ago. It was actually a year or two before I had this business, and I was calling on a customer who was a Rotarian, and he was a former president. He just kept telling me I should join. I knew of Rotary, but I'd sort of avoided it for a long time, and finally he twisted my arm, and I came to a couple meetings, and I think a couple things I was very impressed by, just personally. One was it's a little bit like the Commonwealth Club. We meet every Thursday, and we always have a speaker. About half of the meeting is a guest speaker, and we may talk about that more in a few minutes. But we have a guest speaker, and it's usually somebody that's very interesting. I mean, especially with COVID and the kind of things with Zoom, we've just had very incredible speakers, and we've had them before too, coming to the California Ballroom. But the other thing was the generosity of people. I'd never belonged to a large club like this before, and we might talk more about that too. But it's the ability of a large club of community leaders to raise money and to support service projects both in the community and most Rotary clubs. There's 36,000 of them, and they're all based in a community, except as Cory mentioned, there are e-clubs, but most are based in a community and they're sort of the cheerleader for the community in many ways. But we also do a lot of international work. Rotary was it's kind of known for the eradication of polio, and that was a project Rotary took on in 1986, and it's been a very successful program. So anyway, so I wound up in Rotary. I'm an Oakland guy. I don't live in Oakland, but I've lived around Oakland for a long time, and I just love the community.
Great, and I know you touched on several things there that I really think I saw early on in Rotary and why I joined about, Oakland Rotary number 3 being unique, and really, it is the 3rd oldest in the country. So it's kind of but its size, we're almost at about 300 members. So the capacity that has to kind of do good and the connections is amazing. And it also leads to this social aspect of the club, that we do so many great social functions that feed into, getting connected on other service projects, but also other things that aren't even involved with Rotary, like say a nonprofit. You meet somebody at a nonprofit and then you get involved over there. So it really teaches you how to kind of move the ball forward and in a number of other things that may not even be Rotary related. And that you mentioned the international aspect, that it's really backed by an international organization of how to get things done and very action oriented. So I love, all those things about Rotary. And I did want to put this question to you about, who might want to come visit our club and why should they come check it out?
I think the club appeals to it. Well, clearly a wide variety of people, and I'll make one correction, David. It's not the third oldest in the country; it's the third oldest in the world. There's 36,000 clubs in over 120 and over 200 countries around the world, with about 1.2 million members. And Chicago, it was founded in Chicago, and then San Francisco is the second club, and we were the third club. Then it went to Seattle and then Los Angeles, we call ourselves the First Five Collaborative, and sometimes we work together on projects and do joint meetings. One's coming up in a couple of weeks. But yeah, I'm sorry, ask the question again, David. Oh, who would want to come? People come for, lots of reasons. I think most people come for a couple of reasons. One is, and it may not be the best reason to stay, but I think most people come to get more business or to meet people that will help them. And that's not wrong. I think somebody was telling me the other day, they moved into the community and they wanted to meet folks. And really, if you want to meet sort of connected people, leaders, emerging leaders, I think that those are the two groups, or people that are leaders in the community, either business or community leaders. Often they belong. The mayor is always a member of Oakland Rotary, and the district attorney for Alameda County is a member of Rotary. Joel Parrott, who has been the executive of the Oakland Zoo for, I think, 35 years, is a member of Rotary. The executive director of Children's Fairyland. You can go up and down. As soon as you start mentioning people, I leave out 280 other people. But it's a place that you can meet people if you're moving into a community, or if you see that you want to develop your skills as well too, to become a leader, because a lot of what we're about is mentoring. There's a few of us that are, granted, we're a little bit older, but I think all of the people in Rotary want to help people along the way. I think I know I joined because I thought I would get a lot of business. I didn't get a lot of business. I probably paid for my membership, but the kind of relationships that I've built have developed into some of my best friends. And I think Rotary did a survey, hired a consulting firm a few years ago, and they wanted to come up with the one reason that Rotary, what's the 15-second elevator pitch, and they wanted to come up, and the challenge was to come up with one thing, and the firm came back and said, we can't do it. We said there's two things. One is relationship, and the second one is service. And as David and Cory know, this year I've been asking people when they come up to the podium, why did you join Rotary and why are you still here? And almost everybody joined for personal reasons, and often to meet more people, to get more business. Why they stayed was the relationships they built and the value that's been to them, and their ability to contribute to the community and to the world, the service projects we do internationally.
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see how so many different people in there and how they all contribute different skills and ways of helping the club. So, for example, we're on that PR call every week. So I do marketing. So most of what I do is actually helping promote the club and doing things which I love to do. But then other people, maybe they, we had Sandeep on earlier who does a food service, and he's going to be providing, he provides the food for some of the clubs. So you have attorneys, and it's just interesting to see all the different aspects of the club and what people contribute. You mentioned leadership, like the nonprofit. There's some nonprofit leaders in there. So maybe somebody's interested in being on a board, which is a great kind of leadership function for an up and coming person. They can show you how to do that. So it's just a beautiful thing to see everything that goes on in Rotary. I did want to ask about, I know maybe you're tired of talking about these, but I see how important it is to come back to kind of your vision for the club to keep everybody on the same page. But what are your priorities for this year as president, which you've been in this capacity since, what is it, July 1?
Yeah. Let me just add one other thing I was just thinking about it. I think, as with most organizations or education, is that if you're a person that can take initiative to take advantage of whatever you're doing, if you're in school, to take advantage of your education, or if you join a club like this, it's not just given to you. You're given a whole world in something like Rotary, and but you have to take some initiative. One of the things I guess I found about myself is I'm the kind of person that, in fact, I really hold back the other day in one of our meetings, David, like nobody was raising their hand to do something, and I wanted to do it. Yet I realized that kind of this year that I need to I need to delegate everything and let other people do it. But, if you're the kind of person that wants to take responsibility, I think that's that's one of the components of being a leader, of being an emerging leader, is you're the person that says, yes, let's do this. And I think, if you're that kind of person too, that's we have all kinds of people, but I think that's, a great person to join an organization. I had 3 goals that I talked about, and I'm going to say to some degree they're modest. Maybe a couple of them were bigger, but one was, we're coming out of a pandemic. We just went through, as Cory talked about, we've had like a year and a half. Rotary is so much about relationship that if you can't meet people and see people eye to eye, as we all experience, it's not just Rotary, but if you can't see people eye to eye, having an organization that's so dependent on relationship is difficult. We had my predecessor, Seth Butner, only had one meeting in his year that was in person and live. As we started my year, we started to come back to our meeting, and so we have hybrid meetings now. About half of the people are online watching hybrid, and about half now come to the California Ballroom in downtown Oakland. But we want to come back safely, and we really want to be a model of how to come back and do it safely, so people feel that they can come and trust that other people are conscientious. And so we do ask that everybody be vaccinated to come to the ballroom. We ask that people wear masks. We do serve food, or we provide, as David was saying, we do box lunches now for people that want to eat during that time. So, take your mask down while you're eating and drinking, but we ask people to put their mask back on. So we really, this pandemic is not over, but we're trying to find a way to have social engagement, some service events, and coming back for a regular meeting. So the first goal was just to bring people back safely, but to bring people back, create an environment. The second thing was membership and engagement. As Cory was saying, he's not alone. Many people, and Rotary in general acknowledges it's been a difficult time for organizations to maintain membership. In a large club, we need a certain number of members because we have a paid staff person. We rent space in the ballroom and the like. So we need a certain level of membership, and to be the kind of club that we've historically been. So, but membership isn't just about numbers; it's engagement. And so we really have to find. We've been trying very hard to find little ways to engage people, whether, again, a lot of it's been social. I'd like to say there's more service, but a lot of places we do service have their own rules about, for example, schools. We do a lot of mentoring in schools. We have a program where we support all of the pre-kindergarten programs, the kinder prep program. And we've had volunteers doing that. We deliver books to kids in those ballrooms. We cannot go into the schools, as anybody on this call, parents can't go into schools this year. So we've been limited very much in the kind of services, the hands-on services we often do. So we're trying to find ways to engage members as best we can. The third thing is Rotary International has 7 areas of focus. And the 7th one just came this year, and it's protecting the environment. And so there's a big push to address issues of climate change. And I don't even want to go into the importance of that. I mean, I hope we all realize the importance of that. So I've asked Joel Parrott again, who I referred to earlier, who is just retired this year as director, president of the Oakland Zoo, to form a committee, a program for us to address the environment. And Joel just said, if we're going to do it, I want to create a model program. I want to create a program that other people are calling us about, and how do you do that? And so Joel is just kind of getting over his retirement, and we're starting to put that together. But I'm hoping by the end of my year that's underway.
Beautiful. I'm going to turn it over to Cory. Well put, Dudley.
Yeah. So speaking of which, so you actually have a platform for public speakers, and of course now we can do these kind of hybridization as we were talking about earlier with the videographers. But you bring them in to talk about important topics for the community. And can you tell us a little bit about some of those presentations and what we might expect in the future?
Sure. I mean, I guess one of the good things, everybody has their feelings about Zoom, right? And, we're live streaming now too. We can't invite everybody to a small room and discuss this. So there have been great advantages come to us. Previously, a speaker had to come to downtown Oakland on Thursday noon and probably take 3 hours out of their day. And so there were challenges we've always had great speakers, but it still is a challenge to get people to take 3 hours out of their day to come speak. And this last year, we've had Eric Foreigner from Columbia, who is one of the primary scholars on the help me with this, the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, if I get that right, and how that's how what happened after the Civil War still affects diverse communities today. And it was it was a wonderful speaker. We had H.R. McMaster, controversial, former national security advisor, a fascinating person to have as a speaker. We've had Barbara Lee as our speaker last year. And some of them are heavy topics. Next week, we have a professor from UCLA who's going to talk about the Native Americans in California and all of the factors that cause that to be almost a population that's almost lost in many ways compared to 150, 200 years ago. So we get into topics like that. And then we have some fun things. Shooty Babbitt, announcer for the A's, visited the club this year. Bernard Schlager of the Center for LGBTQ+ at Pacific School of Religion spoke to us about the history of prior to, it was around Stonewall. Well, the things that happened in California that we often think of were East Coast challenges to the LGBTQ+ community. And so we have the director of housing coming up in a week or two. Who's going to speak about affordable housing. And in 2 weeks, we have the president of Rotary International who's going to be coming in too. Shekhar Mektha will be talking with us. So those are the kind of speakers we have. The Chief Justice of the Supreme Court is one of our speakers. So we get a pretty good, for me, I tell you what was so important for me having a small business. It was and we meet every Thursday, and back in the day you had to come every Thursday. It doesn't happen anymore. But to get away from business for like an hour and a half on a noon, just to get away, go to a meeting, talk with folks, and have a great speaker. I can still think of speakers from 20 years ago that I may not even have thought they were going to be interesting, and I still remember what they talked about. Brooklyn Basin, I have to say in the mid 2000s, I remember hearing the presentation on Brooklyn Basin, and my wife and I were thinking about maybe moving. And, where do we put our money down on Brooklyn Basin? That was 16 years. We didn't put money down at that time, but, you hear that's the kind of thing you hear about the future.
Yeah, I'll just add before Cory, sorry to interrupt. We have about 5 more minutes here, just a time check. I've been just blown away by some of the speakers we've had and the things that they say that sticks with me. And I feel like most people think the same thing. And it's really a unique forum in the East Bay area for speakers, because I don't see any other, we don't have a Commonwealth Club out here that has relevant speakers to our community come in every week. So it's just, it's a very unique forum, and I think it's great at kind of getting the community this kind of increased capacity on some of these very key issues.
Yeah. I know there was a question here about the type of people, but I think we heard about that. I would actually ask about what are the kinds of things that people can do through Rotary. I mean, there's social activities that you were talking about. And I think, I realize that that's not what it's about, but during COVID, sometimes that kind of keeps people together. But ultimately, we join because there's a greater purpose, not just seeing speakers, having lunch with other people, but there's a lot of activities that were going on. And one of the reasons I had joined the Oakland #3 is because there were some things that people were doing that I was interested in getting involved in. And so that was what made it the right one for me. So if you could just tell us a bit about some of those things.
Well, there's sort of 2 parts to it. One is we probably have 30, I think we have 30 committees. And so there's, there's community service, there's world community service, there's kinder prep, there's housing and food insecurity, the environment. We have a scholarship programs, of which we have one scholarship program called Hope that was started about the time I joined the club. And we select about 3 or 4 middle school kids every year that are kind of at risk. And if they stay in school and meet certain guidelines and they're mentored, they have a mentor through that period of time. And if they graduate from high school, they get a $10,000 scholarship. We also give, and that's been going on for some 20 years. So those mentoring possibilities. We have a Cerrone Lena scholarship program where we give $8,000 scholarships and we assign mentors to those students. We work through Oakland Promise on that. But, it's kind of like, even if you don't like one of our committees, it's like there's these Rotary fellowships, Rotary International fellowships. Cory, you and I, there's even one for people with facial hair. Everybody, people that are passionate about facial hair. There's a motorcycle, there's a golfer fellowship and literally people from around the world get together and talk about this stuff. There's chess, go, and then there's areas of focus. We belong to, and I'm giving my speakers committee to the Environmental Sustainability Rotary Action Group, which brings experts together. I've been on some Wednesday morning calls that are hosted in Denmark, and literally about 30 or 40 people from around the world talk about issues of biodiversity. So it's pretty fascinating. you can only think that 1.2 million people, kind of community leaders from around the world, and you, one little thing too, and I'll sort of end with this, is if you're a member of a Rotary, you can go to any other Rotary club in the world to their meeting. So if you're, I was in Vancouver a couple of years ago, and actually in my hotel was a meeting. I just went down and went to their meeting. You're welcome, whether it's in Zambia or India or any. So it's a fascinating group of people that embrace the idea of Rotary. So if it's something that piques your interest, it's a place where people, most people find that they're embraced when they come and nurture. So.
Cory, do you have any closing comments before we let Dudley get back to work?
No, when I started there, I had asked around, about a couple of things that I was really passionate about, and one of them, was helping people who've been through the justice system, reintegrate in society, and being a business owner, I realized that's probably one of the best ways for people to create wealth when they're shut out of the job market, and so that was, and there's a few people in that group who are interested in that and doing some of that. And
I'd interrupt, but one of our upcoming speakers is Fiona Davis, who's going to be talking about restorative justice programs too.
Yeah, and yeah, so it's something similar to that, and so I was just amazed that there's, it's what I was told when I did that. Yeah, there's some people already doing that, and get involved in the committee, and if they're not doing it the way you want to do it, or if you'd like to do something slightly different, start your own committee, and you've got to obviously sell it to other people to get involved and get that help, but that is what I think one of the great things about Rotary is if you have a passion for something, you'll find other people doing it, and you can work with them on that.
Yeah, and I'm glad we got to some of those committees with 30 committees and all the projects. It's hard to kind of wrap your head around that club initially, but there's so many great
Hard for me
things.
to wrap my head around.
Yeah. But I do want to thank Dudley he's so wise on a lot of this, especially when it comes to Rotary stuff, your experience, and you're caring, you're a great connector of people in the club, and a manager, and a real consensus builder. So I really see that you're so ideally suited, I think, for being president, and we're grateful to have you. So thanks for coming on to share that message and all your insights. And
that's very kind, David. And thank you, Cory and David. I appreciate coming on today. It's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot, everyone. We'll see you soon.